I left my husband for my lover, but now I'm in a bad situation. I can't believe I made such a big mistake by leaving my husband for my affair partner. I've never been this stupid in my entire life. Every day, I regret what I did and wish I hadn't taken that route. My name is Kiyama. I'm a year-old skincare vendor. I own my own store where I basically sell skincare products. I was doing very well for myself before everything turned sour. My soon-to-be ex-husband is Jesse. He is years old. My husband and I have been married for years now. Jesse and I have known each other since high school. We were just friends and classmates. From the beginning, Jesse wanted more than friendship, but I kept turning him down. Everything changed when we both got to the same college. I realized that Jesse really liked me. I decided to give it a trial. I should mention that I also liked Jesse, but I was playing hard to get. I decided to give him a chance to see how it would play out. Surprisingly, it went pretty well. My feelings for him grew stronger with every moment spent with Jesse. He really took good care of me, right from high school to marriage. He supported me, and Jesse is a great guy. He encourages me to do things and is always there for me when I need him. He knows how to take care of a woman, and he's romantic. One thing I didn't like about Jesse was that he wasn't as financially stable as I would have liked. I always wanted to marry a rich and handsome young man who would take care of me financially. I wanted someone who would take me out to expensive restaurants, go on expensive vacations, buy me the most expensive jewelry, and so on. I had always wanted to live the baby girl lifestyle, to be pampered materially, and also to be loved. It's not too much to ask, right? Yeah, that's one of the reasons I had always turned Jesse down. Jesse wasn't the right type of guy for me. He was the second person I had ever dated, and we both ended up getting married. My last ex before I married Jesse was rich. He gave me the lifestyle I had dreamed of. We were both in high school, but we ended things because he was traveling out of the country for his college education. At that time, I was really heartbroken and knew I had to move on because I knew it was impossible to be with him. That's when I developed feelings for Jesse and thought about giving him a chance to see if it would work out. I never did get over my ex before I accepted Jesse. Or let's just say I used Jesse to move on. I thought I would learn to love him, but I never did. Looking back, I regret treating him the way I did. My love for money made me not see what true love actually means. I accepted Jesse's proposal not because I genuinely loved him, but because I needed a shoulder to cry on and someone to distract me from thinking about my ex. Then, after dating for 6 months, Jesse and I got married. It was a very simple wedding. We had a simple wedding with our vows taken in front of both families and friends. It was a nice ceremony, but I wasn't truly happy because it wasn't the kind of wedding I had envisioned. Jesse was aware of my unhappiness, but kept reassuring me that things would improve and that we would have the wedding I had always dreamed of on our 5th or 10th anniversary. He needed patience from me, but I couldn't wait. I was too curious and tired to wait. I was also too frustrated with living life as a middle-class person to see the kind of man I married. Jesse has his strict principles. He isn't someone to waste his time on. If he noticed he was being taken for granted, he wasn't going to stick around. I tried my best to fake things, but I don't really know. I did what I did for a reason. The issue was that he didn't have the money to give me the lifestyle I wanted. He used to buy me gifts and anything I wanted, but Jesse was financially smart and never spent unnecessarily. Even before we got married, he made it clear that he wasn't the kind of guy who spent % of his earnings on just buying gifts. I was the opposite. I liked the idea, but I had no choice. I can now see that Jesse was kind and loving. I made a big mistake leaving such a nice man for someone else just because of his financial status. Everything that has played out in the last 8 months has opened my eyes to another side of life. My affair partner is nothing compared to my husband. Jesse is very wealthy but lacks manners. He doesn't know how to treat a woman aside from the expensive gifts he's given me. His character is nothing compared to Jesse's, but he could provide the lifestyle I'd always dreamed of. I really regret throwing away 4 years with Jesse to go live with a man who is mannerless. I've tried everything within my power to get back with my husband, but he's made up his mind. I'm trying to get back with my husband, but it looks like he's made up his mind. We're in the process of getting a divorce. I'm trying to save my marriage, but Jesse isn't ready to take me back or have anything to do with me again. I've lost both a friend and a companion. I should have thought of that before leaving Jesse. I keep blaming myself for allowing it to happen. I should have known better than to let myself become so materialistic. I've ended up losing two of the most important things in my life, my husband and my marriage. I really hope my husband will change his mind and accept me back. I've learned to be content with whatever I have. My marriage with Jesse was going well until one day I met Jeff, the guy I cheated on my husband with. He came into my store to buy some skin products. His style really caught my attention. He dresses really well in simple but luxurious clothes. The products he came to buy were really expensive, but he didn't care. I was surprised when he paid the bills and even gave me an extra token. I was really happy on that day because I made times my daily income. Jeff even promised to drop by again anytime he wanted to get something else. I waited to see him again like he had promised. A few months later, Jeff showed up at the store again, but with a friend of his. Apparently, Jeff had referred me to one of his friends and insisted he buys from me. I also sold some unisex t-shirts at my store that day. I sold a lot of shirts at my store, but I knew Jeff was only looking for reasons to see me. I was really happy that day because I made some great sales. Jeff and I exchanged contacts before leaving the store. He told me he'd like to share my contact info with some of his friends who'd want to get the same products he usually buys from me. Jeff was really helpful in boosting my business. Thanks to him, my products sold faster, and I had a lot of customers. I was really grateful to him, so I said I'd go out with him. Jeff didn't ask for anything in return. Going out with Jeff was one of the best things that had happened to me in a very long time. He made my standards better. I got to wear some expensive clothes, shoes, and jewelry whenever Jeff was out of town. He bought me lots of expensive accessories before coming back. Sometimes we went to expensive restaurants for lunch and dinner. It was literally there. It was the lifestyle I had always dreamed of. Jeff knew how to spoil me with gifts and money. The only issue I had with Jeff was that he was a bit mannerless and even lacked emotional intelligence. Money was everything to Jeff. I didn't see this side of him before I left my husband. If I had known, I wouldn't have made such a big mistake in the first place. After months of going out together, Jeff finally proposed to me to be his girlfriend. Jeff knew about my marital status, but still wanted us to be before I met him. Jeff promised to take care of me and give me whatever I wanted. He also promised to shower me with love. I took his words seriously and was carried away by the moment. Of course, I was drawn to Jeff for material reasons. Not only did he have almost all the qualities I had dreamed of, but he also got me the bag I had always wanted. He even spoke to me about it, which was his gift to me and a way to celebrate our 3-month anniversary. It was the 1-month anniversary of dating, and I was really excited, but also a bit anxious. I kept thinking about whether or not to accept the gift because I didn't know how I would explain it to my husband. Jeff told me there was no need to explain anything and that I could just hide the bag without him knowing. It was a great idea, and bit by bit I was moving my things to Jeff's house. His house was very big and empty. Jeff lived alone at that time. Of course, Jeff was single and wasn't in a relationship. Cheating on my husband with Jeff was one of the dumbest things I have ever done. Each time I remember it, I get angry. After 4 months of being together with Jeff, he suggested I move in with him and get engaged. I even planned to leave Jesse after we got married. After thinking it over, I agreed to move out before leaving my husband. I didn't know how to tell Jesse, but I kept it slow until one day I finally told him I was moving out to live with someone else. He was surprised and heartbroken. He didn't see it coming. I didn't give Jesse a chance to suspect anything. He didn't know about my secret affair with Jeff. Whenever I came home late, I gave one excuse or the other. I made sure he never suspected anything. I had no friends in the city that he could ask after me, so it was easy for me to escape. At some point, I got tired of the hiding. I decided to tell him that night. Jeff and I were coming back from one of his friends' parties when we decided to go to the house to pack up my belongings from my husband's house. Jeff waited for me outside while I went inside to pack up. I met Jesse watching his favorite TV show as always. After our usual greetings, I went upstairs and grabbed all my clothes from the wardrobe and other stuff. A few minutes after that, I came down with my bags. Jesse was confused, and he asked what was I tried to ignore all of his questions, but he kept on yelling and demanding to know what was going on. It was then that I told him that I couldn't stay married to him any longer. I told Jesse that I'd found someone better and richer, who was ready to give me the kind of life I wanted, and that I needed an upgrade. Jesse was very angry and couldn't believe I was being so foolish and insensitive. He kept asking if that was my final decision, and I wasted no time. I made it clear to him that I couldn't stay in the marriage again because I had stayed for 4 years and got nothing substantial to show for it. My husband tried everything he could to stop me, but my mind was already made up to leave. After much back and forth with Jesse, I was able to move my things out of the house. It was pretty late that night, and everything was calm and silent. The neighbors even heard our voices, and a few of them came out and watched from their front yard across the street. Jesse was surprised to see Jeff was waiting for me outside. He looked at me with disgust and told me that he had no problem with me leaving since I already cheated and disrespected him. He said I should never come back. I told him I didn't care and was ready to go. Jesse was disappointed. He told me not to show my face to him again. I told him not to worry about that because I wasn't even planning on coming back. Jeff made a mockery of my husband and used his standard of living, and I laughed at all the jokes because it was very funny right now. I realized that I was very stupid to have done that to my husband. Jesse practically chased us out of the house that day, and he almost beat up Jeff that night. I couldn't stop thinking of what happened between my husband and Jeff. I started having a second thought before Jeff walked up to me and told me to forget about everything that has to do with Jesse. He promised to take me out and spoil me with gifts like he usually did, so I couldn't help but smile because Jeff really knew what could ease my stress. Whenever I was feeling stressed, Jeff was there to help. The first 2 months in Jeff's house were great. We went on a lot of vacations together and hardly spent any time at home. I had lots of fun memories with Jeff. We even went on a boat cruise together and went skydiving because it was something I had always wanted to do. But then in the 4th month of being together with Jeff, things changed. I found out where Jeff was getting his money from. I know it sounds crazy, but he was living off a loan. He'd loaned money to people and wasn't paying it back. The most shocking thing was that he'd loaned a huge amount from the bank. I found out about this when 2 men came to the house to give me a piece of paper. They said they were looking for Jeff, but he wasn't there. So they gave me the paper. When I opened it, I was really surprised. I was really shocked to see that Jeff had used his house as collateral for a huge loan that he couldn't keep up with the payments on. The bank had to issue him a notice of default for days. Otherwise, the house would be up for foreclosure that day. I was really shocked and couldn't believe that Jeff was living his expensive lifestyle on borrowed money. He was in a huge debt, not only with the bank, but with a lot of people. That day was a real eye-opener for me. When Jeff got back, I handed him Jeff threw the letter away where he was sitting. A month later, things started to go downhill between me and Jeff. He got angry at the slightest thing. By that time, the money had run out, and Jeff didn't have any money to keep the house running. We ran out of groceries and could barely eat 2 square meals a day. It was really frustrating for me. Jeff took out his anger on me by yelling at me for any little mistake. We stopped going out like we used to. I got used to it, even to the point of living on the little money I had saved up for my business. When Jeff found out I had money, he would ask me to loan him some amount, promising to pay it back later. I got really tired and frustrated. The money was reduced so much that it couldn't even pay for some important bills for me. When I tried complaining, Jeff would emotionally blackmail me on several occasions. Jeff had told me to go back to my husband if I was tired of living with him. I couldn't because Jesse wouldn't take me back. What really upset me was that Jeff didn't use the money he borrowed for anything useful. He spent it going out with his friends and leaving me alone at home. At one point, he got hold of my credit card and spent the money I'd saved for a rainy day. I was really angry, but I couldn't do anything about it. There were times when we had nothing to eat at home. During that time, I was ordering pizzas and burgers so I could eat when they arrived. Jeff would take everything and wouldn't give me anything to eat. I started losing weight because I wasn't feeding properly. What really upset me was when Jeff started selling my stuff from my bags to shoes and my clothes secretly, so he could have money. I had to confront him because my stuff was being reduced. Jeff didn't deny it, and to make matters worse, he wasn't even remorseful. That day we had a big argument. I got so angry that I went inside to pack my remaining belongings. I came to Jeff's house with 4 bags, but I was leaving with just 2. Jeff said he got all my stuff and he was right. If he decided to sell it, I wouldn't have been able to stop him. He acted like I never existed and watched me leave. After I left, I realized that I didn't have anywhere to go. None of my family or friends were living in the area. I was still in the same city, so I had my husband to turn to, but I was scared to even go back there. After much thought, I decided to go there after all because I had nowhere to go. I went to the house and met Jesse, who was watering the plants we both planted in the garden. Jesse seemed annoyed when he saw me. He didn't waste any time and asked why I showed up. I didn't know what to say. I fell on my knees to plead with him to forgive me. He looked at me and told me to leave and that it was over between us. He went inside and shut the door. I kept banging on the door for him to let me in, but he refused. At some point, he called the security guards in the estate to throw me out. I don't know what to do. GR had stated that he wants a divorce. I cannot go back to the nightmare with Jeff. I don't know what to do, and I'm stranded. Here's an update on everything that happened in the last few months. Things didn't work out. Jesse and I had already signed the divorce papers before I even had a chance to think about it. He'd already filed for divorce before I even had a chance to come to my senses. He was already made up his mind and wasn't ready to accept me back. When all hope was lost, I had no choice but to sign the divorce papers. It was a hard decision for me, but I had no choice. He's just recently got a huge contract with a different company. He's moved out from our old house and is living in a well-furnished apartment. He's now living in a furnished apartment and has upgraded his living standards. He also owns a car. I wish I'd been a little more patient with him. I was always told that my love of money made me impatient, and it really affected my marriage and the only genuine friend I had, which was my ex. Jesse has moved on and is now in a relationship with a new woman. I've heard it's very serious and that the girl loves him a lot and wants to marry him. I really messed up and regret the way I treated my ex-husband. All he ever did was love and care for me, but I was too blind to see that my husband is better than Jeff. Life with Jeff was hell, but I used the expensive things I was getting from him to console myself. It got worse when the money ran out. That's when I saw the other side of him that I never saw from the beginning. My life right now is a mess. My business has crumbled. I stopped the business when I moved in with Jeff. I was overwhelmed by the feeling of if only I'd planned ahead, I'd have known that the money would run out one day. Jeff also made me stop worrying about work since he was capable of taking care of me. I should have thought about it thoroughly before closing down my business. Now I don't have anything that's going to give me money to take care of my bills. It gave me the lifestyle I dreamed of, but it cost me a lot. I got used to wearing expensive things and going to expensive restaurants. But right now, I can barely even feed myself, let alone think about what to wear. Most of my expensive accessories were sold off by Jeff in the years I was married to. He had never asked me to sell my Saint. I didn't appreciate how much money he was spending on me until I moved in with Jeff. I guess you never know the value of something until you lose it. I didn't realize how much I relied on Jeff until I moved in with him. I only learned my lessons when it was too late. These past few months have taught me to be content with whatever I have and not look elsewhere. Life is hard on me right now, and it's not easy. I'm trying to rebuild everything I have lost from scratch, but it's hard, and I know it will never be the same because everything is just messed up.